I'm going to talk about one of the, let's call it a flagship sort of project of the Responsible Construction Leadership Group, which was around sustainable site facilities. Before that, just, I'm part of Sustainability Advantage. I'm a senior project officer. We've supported this event, and Alice will talk a bit more later on about the program and everything like that. I'm here today to sub in for Joe Carton, who has a shoulder injury, and we wish him all well. But this Sustainable Site Facilities project that the RCLG have been working on, the Responsible Construction Leadership Group, this is an example of an industry collaboration, the kind of collaboration that Stockland had been, talked about earlier about being really important and increasingly happening increasingly. And this collaboration is sort of on the cusp of a transformation. So I'm going to talk about the background about this project, how the key players came together, and what to expect. But first, why this matters. Why does this site facilities industry matter to the broader, construction industry, supply chain, and the construction industry as well? This matters because it's an example of the construction industry turning its attention to a new area, a new area that it buys from, that it hadn't previously done so with the lens of sustainability. At one of our recent events, it was an event quite similar to this, hosted by Holland, sponsored by Sustainability Advantage, packed room with a lot of tables. There was one particular business development manager who was adamant that incorporating sustainability into, having more sustainable site facilities on the market, for them to produce, would be very difficult for them, and it would be a disruption, and therefore it would be much more expensive. And I sort of felt sorry for that business development manager, because the rest of the room was talking about what they wanted to change and where they wanted to go. And the customers, the customers of this guy were talking about their unmet needs. This guy couldn't get that. And I just wonder, they're probably not going to do very well moving forward when in 12 months' time, this Sustainable Site Facilities Working Group gets a commitment from the industry to buy, the sustainable, better quality products moving forward. But we'll go back to the beginning of the story, and I'll go through it pretty quickly. The beginning was maybe a few years ago, individual efforts, little momentum. We had Brookfield Multiplex do a pilot for a construction site in Wetherill Park, where they had site sheds with all of the, the great things that we're proud of in the commercial buildings that we work in. Proper lighting, proper air quality, comfortable temperature, all of that sort of stuff. So they did that project, and that became an innovation challenge of the GBCA, the Green Building Council. Separately, Thiess and Lendlease, they started looking at this, and they put together their own business cases, plans. They sought the market and to figure out what the prices would be, how they could make it work. Thiess sort of said, maybe not now. Lendlease went ahead. Both Lendlease and Thiess struggled with their business development managers in trying to basically negotiate something competitive and viable. So last year, the Responsible Construction Leadership Group started working on a standard for these site facilities. So what does that mean? What does a site facility mean in terms of sustainability, vice versa? What are those criteria that we could sort of ask the industry for? They came up with a standard and reached out to all the suppliers. This group has about 80% of their budgets for site facilities were going towards these handful of suppliers. they struggled. So the business development managers didn't really engage in a meaningful strategic conversation about this unmet need coming from the customer. Meanwhile, the supplier sort of had their unmet need of, well, we want to sell our products right now. You're not going to, so there was that sort of difference and that friction and that tension. It became pretty clear that a bigger discussion needed to happen. So Sustainability Advantage sort of caught wind of this through its sponsorship and support of the Responsible Construction Leadership Group. We've been supporting it since 2013. We also started to hear that in addition to the likes of John Holland, Tees, Lend-Lease, that Transport for New South Wales Public Works, Cochrane, these were all new organisations, and they were actually the clients of these construction companies that started putting this into their tenders. So they started saying, we mandate or we require you as a construction company to have site facilities on your site that are sustainable. So Sustainability Advantage sort of interpreted this and sort of thought, well, there's a bit of a market, we started to use the term market failure. How can these end clients for these infrastructure and building projects be requiring sustainable site facilities? The construction companies are absolutely willing to do this. They understand this from their not only from their individual tender requirements, but also a operational energy, water, and cost saving, also for improved improved quality of working environment on site for its contractors and employees, also for just general corporate responsibility. So the construction companies want to do it too, but now how come they can't get them? Like there was a mismatch. There was a bit of a market failure. So we ran an event, and this event was held in April, and it had everyone. Everyone had attended. And this business development manager, that was where I met him, and he was talking about this difficulty of and disruption, and how operationally it'd be hard and therefore more expensive, take longer, just be harder. Maybe we don't want to do it. But we had 10 construction companies there. We had the clients of the construction companies. We had the peak bodies and associations like ISCA, like Green Building Council. And they were all there, and everyone was now thinking about the future. And they were thinking about sustainable site facilities. And this had all happened in about a 12-month period. So I feel sorry for that guy, because in 12 months, his industry changed from one that hadn't had a sustainability lens applied to it to one in 12 months' time, it now will. And we're looking at towards the end of the year, where this will all sort of be in practice. So at the event, a 5-point plan was put in place. And what's happening now is the Responsible Construction Leadership Group, led by Joe Carton, who's not here today, he's finalising this standard. This standard will be, we've reached out to all the stakeholders, and they've all given contributions. And on the 31st of August, that will be sort of finalised. The next step will be the Australian Constructors Association Sustainability Working Group. They're going to look over it, and they're going to commit to taking this standard and incorporating it into their procurement processes. From that, there'll be a bit of a case studies and a pilot project ready for the supply chain school to do the capacity building and the education, and I hope also that Sustainability Advantage is able to help some of those site facility companies in making that transition. If we think about Robin's questions of why, will your business be around in 5 to 10 years' time, I'm not sure if that business development manager's business will be as successful as it is now, If we think about Robin's thing about SMEs, number one concern about getting paid. Will they get paid? How much market share will they lose by not seeing this trend coming? I used to work for a world-leading business school, and all they would preach to their corporate, global, and regional leaders is trends. Be ahead of the game, be ahead of the market. So, Sustainability Advantage, we're supporting this event because, supply chain is a really important issue. And, we want to see, we're seeing that this is coming to more different areas of the construction supply chain. So, that's it. Thanks.